Alright, so we got a budget HDZERO goggle here, and this is the EMAX Transporter 2 HD. If you guys are familiar with the EMAX goggle products, recently they created this Transporter 2 goggle, came with the ready-to-fly kits that looks really similar to this. Obviously with analog, and basically it's a built-in screen with a goggle part here so that you put this head strap on and use it as a goggle with a little viewfinder there, a magnifying lens. But they've made an HDZERO version of this one. It's coming in at supposed to be around $240, which is pretty good value. So everything in the box that you get here, obviously you get the screen, the goggles, you get a few accessories. So you get a USB-C cable that's for charging the battery that's in here, and then you get this little cable here that will do the firmware updates on the goggle, which are the ports here on the side. Micro SD card slot here on the side there, up to 32 gigabytes. Got a tripod mount here on the bottom if you want to use a standalone, and then the USB-C port over here. And then you have two antenna ports on top there, both SMA for SMA antennas, and I believe these are 2 or 3 dB gain antennas, linear, of course. Obviously, if you want better range and reception, I probably should upgrade these to some circular polarized ones or patch antennas. And a common question I get is, what's the range on these? It's going to really depend on the video transmitter that you're using on the quad and also the antennas that you have. So it's going to vary. With really poor quality equipment, the range could be as little as 500 meters, maybe even less. With really good equipment, you can get a range up to 30-40 kilometers, I suppose. Really kind of depends on the video transmitter you're using. Anyway, for the goggle part, you can adjust where the lens is compared to where the screen is. You can pull this out here, and there's 3 different spots that this can lock into. The lens opening here is pretty wide. It fits well on my face. This foam is soft, and I don't have any light leak. A little bit of light leak here in the nose area. It's pretty big for my nose. Obviously, they're trying to accommodate the largest nose sizes, and because it is a lot bigger than my nose, I do get a little bit of light leak there. I could probably just add some foam here myself if I wanted to, but it fits my face really nice. The lens opening here, screen opening, is not big enough for my glasses. So if you're wondering about that, that's probably why they have the adjustable focal length thing. The outer position, this is the most that it can stretch out to. So depending upon your vision, it should stretch this out so that you can have a little bit better viewing distance to the screen. And of course the screen does pop off like this, and it just uses these magnets here to stay on. Of course, this is I think the selling point of the series, from the Transporter 2 series from EMAX. But here's the inside of the mechanism here. You can see this little rubber gasket here stretches out to give you that different distance between the lens and the screen. And here's a look at the screen itself. It's a glossy screen. I did remove the screen protector. It's just nice and flat like this, and you have these magnets. On the back here, you got a power button, OK button, and a mode button or menu button, and an up and down button here. Different status here for your charging. When you plug in the USB-C over here, these will light up for different charging levels. And then you have a cooling fan here. This will turn on right away because the HDZERO video receiver runs pretty hot. Go ahead and turn it on. We'll just long press the power button. You hear the fan going, and the screen turns on. So we got your standard OSD elements here at the top. That's part of the screen. And plugging in the Moblite 7 HDZERO. Just take a little bit here for it to tune in, and it starts recording right away. And just to give you an idea what the screen looks like at this brightness level. So I'm not 100% sure if the stats or the specs I got are 100% correct. So I'm going to guide you to the links in the product or in the video description to the product pages that'll show you more specs. And I just want to show you this next to the FreeSky monitor that I showed you previously. The brightness levels pretty similar, and this wasn't that bright outside, The same goes with this one. Obviously, when you put it inside the goggle module and put it up your head, this is bright enough, no problem. It's just that if you try and use a standalone, if you're in bright sunlight, you may have the same issue where you may not be able to see the image that clearly, where you need some sort of a sunshade. That's probably what I need for this one here, is a pretty good sunshade. Screen size difference, I think this is 5.5 inches, and the Transporter 2 is 4.5 inches. But yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to notice much difference here between the two. Obviously, they're both pretty glossy. So obviously, the smaller screen is going to be a little bit harder to see the details. But just give you an idea of what the differences are between the two. So a quick look at the menu. Go ahead and press the menu button, and you can see all the same elements there that you would find on a typical HDZERO video receiver. So the battery in here is a 1S 2200 milliamp hour battery, so it's not super large. They're estimating about an hour of power on time for this video receiver. In my use, I think I've got roughly about 50 minutes of power on time before I had to recharge it, so sounds about right. But if you do run out of battery in this one, you can power it just off of the USB-C by itself. You do need a 5 volt 3 amp power source, and if the battery's dead, you can just power it externally off of a USB-C 5 volt 3 amp power source. Anyway, overall, I actually like this setup a lot better than using the full-size video receiver on top of my SkyZone goggles. That's actually pretty heavy, and this actually feels slightly lighter. Maybe it's because I got this head strap here at the top that helps, and because of the way the lenses and everything. So this one just seems like it's a nicer setup for me. I don't particularly find box goggles that comfortable, but I think I'm just going to use this as my standalone HDZERO goggle, and then just stick to analog on my SkyZone goggles. But of course, there's no way for me to know if this goggle is going to fit your face or not. That's a common question I'm gonna get. Is this the best for for you? Yeah, I can't really answer that. It might be really, really nice for you, or it might completely suck. It's it's probably gonna be somewhere in between. It's hard to gauge the usefulness of a goggle. It really depends on the pilot. And for those of you that like box goggles, this sort of style, I think this is going to be really good for you. But if you prefer like this sort of standard, like an SkyZone or a Fat Shark HDZERO type goggle, something like that, you're probably going to want to go with a more expensive setup with the separate video receiver and the smaller goggle. So that setup's going to typically cost you $700, $800, depending upon where you get your components from. But if you are okay with box goggles, this here at $250 or $240, pretty good deal, and just gets the job done. It's if you're doing like super long range or whatever, you may want to probably get something a little bit more upgraded with the full size video receiver and 4 antennas and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you're doing that kind of flying, then this sort of budget goggle is probably not in your sort of what you're looking for anyway. But if you're just looking to fly casually, this is probably going to fit most people just fine. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Talk to you guys in the next one.